that Hillary Clinton had the email drama get dropped right before Super Tuesday, and that didn't even dent it at all.
Before every election, she's had something about the emails drop. First, it was the confirmation of the investigation.
Who did she piss off on the internet? Somebody wants her. Somebody does.
Well, here's the thing. I actually would not be surprised if that didn't happen at her insistence, because again, I know it's almost a smart play to think that every time Hillary Clinton's lips are moving, the truth is not passing them. But I absolutely believe that she is sincere in her belief that the email scandal is no big deal. And so I wouldn't be surprised if, with the sole exception of the Justice Department thing, that she did want her stuff out there. Now, that is to say that what she wanted out there is stuff she wanted out there. You know, the stuff that's retroactively classified, the things that are problematic, weren't going to be released to the public anyway. So I think that was sort of a smart play. I saw you shaking your head, Peter, so give me a 1-2 response to that.
The only appropriate response to Hillary, and perhaps you with respect, is bullshit. Look, she got caught red-handed in March, and we can, if we had a couple of hours, we could walk through the many permutations of excuses that she's used since March to try to put this aside. But the reality is she got caught, and she doesn't have a whole lot to defend herself with except made-up crap, like it was all retroactively classified or it was unmarked. Or the various things that she's claimed, none of which are particularly true or accurate. And we can go into the details if people care to, having labored under both the government classification system and the State Department in particular for 24 years. Maybe I have something to add there. But the reality is Hillary knows that she's befuddled the American public, and she's confused the media enough, the ones who weren't already kind of on her side, that she just has to try to ride this out. The only thing that stands between her and the nomination, if not the presidency, is a formal indictment. And if anybody thinks that a African-American woman attorney general appointed by Barack Obama is going to personally torpedo Hillary Clinton's campaign, well, no, that won't happen. Let me just make that clear.
Well, what were you going to say about the State Department classification system? I want to hear that.
Well, there's a couple of things. First of all, the idea that something is classified is based on the information itself. Whether, the idea is all these documents inside the government have markings on them. In fact, in the State Department, everything has a marking, including something that says unclassified. Typically, they say sensitive but unclassified. Everything does. I mean, if you were in the cubicle next to me and I sent you an email saying, Igor, you want to have lunch, it would be labeled sensitive but unclassified. Everything has a marking. When you're in Hillary's private server and people are retyping information, it was just something this week where the intelligence agencies have said that stuff was in there word for word from their documents. It stays classified. I mean, unless I want to admit I'm committing a criminal act by retyping a secret document into an unclassified system and adding the marker secret, even her people are not that dumb. It is still classified information. This retroactive stuff that Hillary likes to talk about is largely I think the better word would be restored classification. Something that started life as say, a secret document, was retyped into her system and thus, in her mind, became unclassified. And now, before it's released to the public, the legitimate classification was restored. Second, Hillary knows, as well as anybody else, that the government, in fact, is allowed to retroactively classify information. And it's a very odd little quirk of the law, but it actually applies backwards. There was a very famous case of a TSA whistleblower named John Kiriakou, I take that back. Robert McLean. Robert McLean blew the whistle on some TSA stuff by sending some unclassified information to a reporter. TSA didn't like that. They had the information retroactively classified and then went back and prosecuted him for releasing the classified information. And this case went all the way to the Supreme Court. where this concept of retroactive classification was upheld. So there are all sorts of things that Hillary has befuddled the media in a world where everything has to be in an 8-second soundbite. You can't get this kind of complexity across, especially when there's some Hillary stooge who comes on next and says, well, that's not true. The FBI knows how these rules work. The Justice Department knows how these rules work. But ultimately, we're going to see a political decision, and that is I cannot imagine Loretta Lynch is going to torpedo the Clinton candidacy. It just couldn't happen in the world that I know of. John, the State Department spokesperson, for example, today just kind of hinted at all this by saying that the State Department's own internal investigations, which are focusing on collaboration between Hillary's State Department and the Clinton Foundation, may not be completed by the time of the election. And he reiterated that they don't work on a political schedule. The investigation will take as long as it takes. So I think she's going to get away with it.
Well, it's all about perception, and Trump, yesterday and a few times that he's mentioned Hillary has alluded to the potential indictment yesterday to say he's not even sure she's allowed to run. Josh, how much can this actually hurt her in the general election when Trump pretty much seems intent on just going for that one issue?
I think much at all, and to sort of retroactively amend my comments from earlier, all I was really talking about is perception with the voters. I mean, unless you are,
I understand.
Yeah, unless you are, really. I mean, I don't think that that's an issue that people who don't already hate Hillary Clinton give much of a fuck about classified information. Yeah. I mean, if you look at the classified sort of dust-ups we have, you got Edward Snowden, who you have a weird sort of bipartisan coalition of like libertarians and people on the left, and then like neocons and Democratic hawks who are on opposite sides of that. You had General Petraeus, who, people on the right were more likely to be like, who cares? You have Chelsea Manning, where people on the left are like, oh, she's a hero, and people on the right are like, says she deserves to be in jail. So I don't think this is going to hurt Hillary much. And I think that the perception is, with this stuff, like with the emails being released and A.G. Lynch giving an interview to Fox News, of all people, the day before Super Tuesday, I think that this is creating the perception that she is being absolutely forthright and this, and that she does not think it's a big deal. And I think to be the kind of politician Clinton and Trump and people are, you have to be a little self-delusional. So I think she really believes it's not a big deal. So I honestly think that with everything working now the way that it should be, she's getting all the delegates, she's winning more contests, she's back to her, Republican, attack general election narrative. I think that she is going to, through her expertise in how these races are covered, and with such a shit show on the Republican side, she is probably going to just coast to the nomination unless Bernie Sanders drastically changes his message in such a way that it becomes new and worth looking at again.